Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of Aventuria. Today I'm going to be tackling the very difficult Tears of Fire expansion. This is an expansion that is entirely focused around fighting a great wyvern, a three-headed dragon from the Dark Eye world. Now, I have played this a few times before, and even with other people, I don't win very often, so I don't know that it's going to be a very long fight. We'll see. I'll be playing the adventure that leads up to it, and I'll talk more about that as we get in. One of the other great things about this expansion, though, is that it also enables you to play many versus one, where one person plays the Great Wyvern and actually has a whole deck that they use as the Great Wyvern, and all the other heroes, all the other players, fight them as heroes. So it has an entirely different game mode that's pretty cool. Now, the adventure itself that I will be showing you actually comes in several different scenarios. So what you do is you start the adventure and then you get to choose your path, and I will be doing that. And then once you get to the dragon, you actually randomize which heads the dragon has as 3 heads. I'll explain more about that later, but what I wanted to tell you is that because that setup takes a little bit of time, and I didn't want to have you watch me just find cards and put them into a deck, I decided to go ahead and do the randomization beforehand, and so everything is ready to go once we get to the combat. Now, before we do all that, I did say, after Emperor of Thieves, I was going to think about what I was going to take for my experience point. And I really think that, although the half poison was a pretty good item, I have gotten a couple of reward cards that are very useful, and I don't want to dilute my deck from the way that it should be too much, and half poison is a bit of a distraction from the things that I think help Nicole the most. So I've decided to go with a skill, and since we're heading towards a dragon fight, we'll be traveling overland, and I thought that that sounded like a good reason to take survival. So I will be raising my survival by 1, so that is now also an 11. So those will be the skills, the skill raising that I will do. Let's get set up to head into Tears of Fire. So, Tears of Fire, 3 paths to the dragon. The Green Plain, 1039 BF. When you are up against a huge 3-headed giant wyvern, you are happy for all the support you can get. So perhaps the gods did actually hold their protective hands over you by making sure you do not have to fight the beast alone, but have 2 more groups of brave heroes by your side. Of course, this is not a guarantee that you will be able to eventually defeat the monster and salvage the tear of the dragon. But that time has not come yet. Let's turn back the clock. A few weeks earlier, at 3 faraway locations, 3 separate groups of heroes began their journey with different goals and hopes, not knowing that their paths will soon cross in the face of a frightening dragon. So we place the card, Fellowship of the Dragon Hunters, with the side Preparation face up. So we will put that there. This is where we'll collect some help as we go along. Then, 3 paths lead to the dragon. You can either choose one of them or split up into 2 or 3 smaller groups. I am a solo hero, so I will have to choose one of them. That's fine. Each respective group may consist of just a single hero, but we recommend group sizes of 2 or more heroes each. Well, too bad. While they are experiencing their individual adventures, the individual hero groups consist only of their respective group members. To illustrate this, we have marked the symbol for the number of heroes in the corresponding places with an asterisk. For example, a total of 6 heroes could participate in the adventure, but in each corresponding group there are only 2 heroes, so hero asterisk corresponds to the number 2. You can decide which way a particular group will take on the following table, or choose one of them freely. I think I'm going to go ahead and roll. Let's let fate decide which one we do. And it is number 1, the Elven Path. The different groups play their adventures in parallel. This can be done by splitting up the players into their separate groups, or by the groups of players playing one section of their adventure and then watching the other groups perform their sections. The latter increases playing time, but allows all players to enjoy the complete story. For your convenience, the adventures are divided into sections 1 to 5. So if you wanted to do this, one of the things that you could do is you could rotate it more quickly so that you weren't watching the entire adventure that someone else did before you went on to yours. You could go scene by scene, and that's kind of a neat way to do it. Elven Path, since this is the one that was chosen for us by the die. Jurassum 1039 BF. You are in the city of Jurassum, which is inhabited by humans and elves, where you have opportunity to participate in a Salasandra of the dream world of Salanor Talaafea, the legacy of the peoples. Through meditation, one can enter this dream world to share his essence and knowledge and to gain insight into the knowledge of the community. So I'm going to search the reward card pile for a number of hero cards with the word Salasandra in their title. So that will be these. Now they're all different, so I will shuffle them and draw one. Each hero is allowed to choose one of these cards and shuffle them into their action deck. You may also take no card and receive 1 fate point instead. So I think I'm going to... I don't want the magic. The talent, perhaps. Endurance cost of weapon or armor is probably very good for Nicole because she doesn't get endurance super fast, and she does have a couple of very expensive weapons. So I believe that will be the one that I take. So I'm taking the Salasandra of Combat, and I will shuffle it in. Then I must make a willpower roll. Oops, excuse me. And willpower is not one of the ones I have increased, but it is a 12, so hopefully I will be successful. It is a 3! I am successful. Not a critical, but pretty good. Success! The dream world is filled with music, and the elves play their soul instruments known as Yama. You feel strengthened and fortified from this experience. Place 2 adventure tokens on the Fellowship of the Dragon Hunters card. That sounds positive. So we'll get a couple of tokens on that card. Alright. From the subconscious minds of the participants of the Salasandra, dark premonitions manifest themselves. The images show only vague threats and hunches from the end of an era, but then it becomes more concrete, a falling star. Inside Salasandra, the community agrees that you should do something about this. For this, you will have to travel to the Green Plains because falling stars like the one in the vision were sighted there recently. Now, if you're familiar with some of the events of the past few years in the world of the Dark Eye, you'll have a sense of what that means. If you're not familiar with it, you may want to check out the collection of short fiction that accompanies the Dark Eye setting. Alright, so each hero makes a survival roll. This is the skill that I raised, so I'm now at an 11. Oops, excuse me. It is a 10! I would have succeeded without the raise, but good to have it. So it is a success. You are well prepared for the wilderness, and you know how to avoid Karen herds and survive in the steppe. So the success is nothing particularly special, but that's good that I got it because the failures would have been bad. So let's move on. As you search for traces and witnesses of the falling stars, you meet the steppe elves of the Gold Bridle. They have seen the falling star and know where the tear of the dragon went down. However, they are suspicious of strangers, so you have to earn their trust first. So this is a persuasion roll. This is not one that I have increased, so let's see how I do. That is a 12. It will be a failure. You have trouble finding the right choice of words with the clan and step out of the negotiations before you do any damage. So, Critical successes and critical failures nullify each other. If there is at least one critical failure left, or the heroes have not achieved a single success, then the Steppe Elven family refuses to help them, and they have to search for the fallen star on their own. Each hero loses 1d6 life points from exhaustion. Okay, so I will lose 4 life points, going down to a 36. Bit of a rough start, but could be worse. As you approach the asp, you can see ascending smoke and notice that a trek of street performers on the way to Norbury was attacked by the dragon. The monster has torn the roof off a fortune teller's wagon and seized his crystal ball. One cart was thrown on its side and another one is in flames. There are many injured people. Each hero makes a craft roll. Alright, this is my worst skill, so I don't have great chance for this, so a 10 is actually a failure for me. You bravely but clumsily help the performers and lose 1 life, so I will go down to 35. The street performers thank you for your help and show you in which direction the dragon has left. You follow the course of the river Asp and spot increasingly clear traces of the creature. You are very close to your goal now. Continue with the fight against the dragon on page 15. Finally, you reach a clearing. More accurately, it is an area of overturned trees that surround a deep meteorite crater. Here, the tear of the dragon, a star fallen from heaven, has struck the ground. The meteorite is a vessel for great magical powers. Among other things, it can be used to construct one of the legendary Dark Eyes, so it is important that it does not fall into the wrong hands. At the same time, 2 more groups of adventurers meet with you, and while you are discussing how the meteorite can be recovered, the giant wyvern Dagapir appears to capture the tear of the dragon. A violent struggle ensues, in which you must try to overcome the dragon and at the same time recover the meteorite before it sinks too deep into the swamp. Flip the Fellowship of Dragon Hunters card to the hero action Fight the Dragon side. The action tokens on the card are transferred to the new side, and now we begin a combat. Now, there's a whole section in this about setting up the combat, but I have already gone through all of that. I'm going to set aside my character sheet. So, let me introduce you to the dragon. So the dragon has 3 heads. There are 6 possible heads, and there are 2 ages for each. We'll be doing this adventure on easy because doing it anywhere else is going to be just extremely challenging. The timescale easy specifically says all 3 heads are young. As you go up in difficulty, specific heads become older, and you use the old side of the head card. You'll notice that the health is different, and many of the other stats are different as well. But we'll be fighting a young dragon. All 3 heads are young, so that's going to be as easy as it can get, which is still not super easy. All right, so we have these 3 heads. Now the 6 possible heads are all connected to different elements. So when you randomly choose them, you get different combinations of elements. And when you do that, you build a leader action deck that is based on the 3 heads that you have. So each one of these has 2 cards in here, plus there are some that are always there. Then we have a henchman deck. And the henchmen don't come into play right away, but it won't be long. It'll just be a few rounds before we start to see henchmen. So we'll want to do as much as we can before they arrive. Let me set up some health on each of the heads. So the 3 heads that I have randomly chosen here are the Ore. So this is Hell Skillet. The heads all have names, and this one is Hell Skillet, the dragon head of ore, metal ore, that is. Then we have Stormbringer, the dragon head of air. And then we have the Earthbound, the dragon head of humus, or earth. So those are the 3 heads we have, and they are all leaders, and in particular the the Hell Skillet over there has a lot of armor. He is very difficult to take down. So we'll probably start with Stormbringer, but we'll see. We'll see what we do. They do only start with 8 life each, but the dragon has a special mechanic for defeating it. In order to defeat the dragon, what we need to do is actually have all 3 heads defeated at the same time. So when we remove all of the life points from one, that dragon head does not die, it simply goes to sleep. And what we do is we put 4 of these dragon sleep tokens on it, the dragon head tokens. 2 of them are waking and 2 of them are sleeping. And we will randomize them, shuffle them up, and then each villain turn, when it gets to this head, we'll flip one over. As we flip them over, the dragon gradually wakes up. Once it gets to 2, it wakes up, gets all its health back, and is back in the fight. So it's at least 2 rounds, and it could be as many as 4, but the trick there is we have to have all 3 heads defeated at the same time. Now that doesn't mean we don't want to have one taken out, at least as quickly as we can, because if the leader action comes up that matches that head's element, then that leader action just has no effect. And that's super useful, obviously, because it's sort of a free reprieve from the leader action cards, which are quite nasty. Alright, so we've got our 35 health. We have our dice ready to go. We have the leader action, the time scale, the leaders, the henchmen. Now what we need is just a few more actions. So here we have the Tear of the Dragon. And this is the trying to remove the fallen star. So at the beginning of each round, we're going to place one hero number of adventure tokens on this card. Every hero may attempt it any number of times. This is a 1-cost action that is a body control roll at -3. So the fact that our body control is 12 is helpful, but still a tough action. As soon as all of the tokens are removed, then we have retrieved this and we can stop worrying about it. So I'll try to do that probably as early as possible so that I don't have to be dealing with it as this gets harder. The other thing is that it will continue to gain tokens, and if at any time it has number of hero times 3 tokens, the meteorite sinks away and we cannot retrieve the meteorite. We can still technically have a victory, this is a secondary condition to the victory. Defeating the dragon is the main condition. We also have look for a weak spot. I can raise the difficulty of my next attack. This is an action that I must take. I can raise the difficulty of my next attack for 1 endurance. If the attack hits, my damage does an additional X. So I can raise the difficulty to make it do more damage. And I cannot lower the value of the attack attribute below 1. So that's what I have to do. Then I have hero action take cover, which allows me to not attack but also not be the target of attacks. And this is a card that can go in front of me. That doesn't seem super useful with a solo card. Also, same with provoke. You provoke the giant wyvern, it must direct all its attacks against you until you have you've lost at least 1 life due to its attacks. And then, so you can run for cover, you can provoke the dragon to take the attacks, but these are more useful in, obviously, a multiplayer scenario. Alright, those are all the hero actions, and so the opponent area is completely set up, which means it is time for me to draw my starting hand. I have that Salasandra in there. I would love to see early. That would be very useful. If I see it later, it may still be useful, but less so. All right. So, I look at my starting hand. I've got that Sacred Bracelet early on, which could be useful. The Stargazing could be useful for helping retrieve the Fallen Star, which is kind of amusing. I've got Memorans, which lets me get discards back. I've got Anatomy to raise my ranged attack ability. That's probably good. The Suddenly Gone to reduce protection. That's going to be extremely useful against the dragon heads that have a lot of armor. So we'll make sure to hold on to that. And then I will draw my first two cards. So I've got the Tuzak Knife, that's great, and Vigilance to reroll a failed dodge test. So I want a lot of these cards. I think the one I can get rid of is probably the Memoran, so I'm going to play that as Endurance. I do need one more to play as Endurance. Now, as tempting as it might be to say, well, it's too early to need the Sacred Bracelet, I will tell you from experience, it is never too early to need life regaining against the dragon. The dragon is very harsh. The Firehead does probably the most damage, but they're all very nasty. So I'm looking at these. Oh boy. As much as I do want it, I think that the least important of these many important things is probably the Stargazing, because it is just one time. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Alright, so there's my two Endurance, and then I'm going to not spend anything on these. I'm just going to... No, I will. I will go ahead and... No, what I should do is I should try to get the Tear of the Dragon. If I can get that taken care of right away, then I'm all set for the rest of the combat and I can focus on other things. So I will spend one Endurance to attempt that. Let's see if we do. So this is a body control roll at -3. My body control is 12, so I need a 9 or better. And that is a failure. So I will, since I can try it again, I will try it again. That is a 19, and that's even worse. Alright, we will hold on to the rest of the things. I will simply throw a stone at Stormbringer. So let's see if we can hit Stormbringer. I can, and it will do 3 damage. He protects 1, so we'll lose 2. Okay. Alright, well, unfortunately, that's going to mean that we're going to see this. So just so you know what the Fellowship of Dragon Hunters does, this lets me take an action to make a craft roll to place more tokens on this card. During combat, after a failed attack against a dragon head or a failed skill roll on the hero action Tear of the Dragon, you may improve the dice result by up to 2 points by spending one of these per point. Neither of those would have gotten me there. My best was a 13, so I could not have succeeded even with that on the Tear of the Dragon. So we move on to the villain turn. So Hellskillet will go first. Let's see what he has for us. A 16. Protect. During the next round, every head gains +2 armor. Well, that's no good for me. That's going to be very bad. I'm going to use a token to mark that. So all of the heads are at +2 armor, and that's going to be very unfortunate. But oh well, what else can I do? It probably means that I'm not going to spend too much, I'm not going to worry too much about attacking next turn. Alright, Stormbringer has 1 action. Rolls an 18, which is nothing. That's great. Definitely like to see that. And then the Earthbound rolls a 12. Every hero who fails at a body control roll receives 1 Doom counter or loses 5 life points if you already have one. A hero with a Doom counter loses 1 at the start of each turn. That's very bad. Okay, I would like to succeed at my body control roll, please. Let's see how we do. I do! Great. So that doesn't happen. So I didn't take any damage. They just armored up this turn and did not hit me with anything. So that's great. I feel pretty good about that. I will remove 1 time token, and that puts us at 8. And nothing happens at 8, but we'll get a leader action next round, so I do need to keep that in mind. Alright. Becomes my turn. Because it is the beginning of the round, Tear of the Dragon gets another token, which means that it's now going to take 2 actions to get it out. Alright. I'll draw 2 cards. I have Warfare and Leather Bracers. Once again, I really just want everything. But I'm going to have to start to make some choices. Having Warfare and Leather Braces and the Tuzak Knife, that's a big setup, but that's going to be a very likely hit for a lot of damage, so that's what I should really be focusing on. That means that probably Anatomy is not going to be as important right now. Boy, I'd really like the Vigilance. I really hate to say it, but I think that Sacred Bracelet is going away. It's very unfortunate, but I think I need to. Alright, so I'm going to start, since I'm not bothering to attack them this turn, I'm going to go ahead and play the Leather Bracers for 2. Then I'm going to spend 1. And I'm going to try the Tear of the Dragon action. Let's use the red die. Hey, that's a success. That's great. And then I will try it again. That is a critical success. That's very good. So I will succeed and I will draw a card. I definitely love to hear that. So if at any time you 0 are on this card, you have successfully dug out the meteorite and no further tokens are placed on this card. I'm going to turn it over to mark that it is complete. Alright, so I still have myself and I have a lot of cards, but I have no endurance, so I can't play any of these things. I could throw a stone, but they all have at least 3 armor, if not quite a bit more, at the moment. So that's what I'm going to do for my turn, and I'm going to call that done. That was a productive turn. Oops. Not readying my things yet. Alright, so they will lose their armor tokens. And now it is the Great Wyvern's turn. So Hellscout rolls a 16. Same thing. So we'll get those tokens right back out. Seems like this is a thing that he's going to be doing a lot. Alright. Stormbringer rolls an 8. Phantasm. This head cannot be attacked during the next round. I probably wasn't going to anyway, so that's fine. Earthbound. 12. Once again, it's the Poison Cloud. So let's see if I get poisoned. I do not. That is a successful body control roll, So nope, I will dodge that. However, we're going to see a leader action now, so this is going to get potentially a lot more harsh. Okay. Oops. I accidentally set my hand down on my endurance. Let's make sure I don't mix those up. Alright, so we remove a time token, and now we get a leader action. This one is Indestructible, or roll a d6 and place this card next to the designated head. 1 to 2 left, 3 to 4 middle, 5 to 6 right. If its life points sink to 0 or below, discard this card and set its life to number of heroes times a d6. So let's find out which of the heads is indestructible. It is the Earthbound. So the Earthbound gets this. Okay. So it's gonna, the first time I drop it to 0, it's gonna get some of that life back. So this is going to be a tough dragon to kill, but at least he's not doing a lot of damage to me. It's giving me some time to set up here, which is quite nice of him. Unfortunately, even with Suddenly Gone, I cannot possibly attack Stormbringer this round, so this is going to be another round of setup. Alright. We've removed the meteorite, so we don't need to do anything else there. It is my turn. I will draw 2. So I've got Blackout, which adds 3 to all action die rolls. That's definitely the one I'm going to get rid of. Alright, now I have Nightwind, which is a cheaper sword than the Tuzak knife, but does less damage and makes it harder to hit. So if I wanted to be attacking this round, if it was urgent that I start attacking immediately, I would probably hold on to that, but as it stands, that will become my endurance. I should probably get out some other things before we deal with this. So what I'm going to do, since I'm planning to bring out the Tuzak knife soon, I could either bring it out this turn and then play cheaper things next turn, but I think I'm actually going to do it the other way around. I'm going to play both Warfare for 3 and Vigilance for 3. That way I have the dodge for whatever comes this turn. That will make me feel better about things. And I'm still not going to take any other actions. So I'm actually, here's what I'm going to do. It can't possibly do anything, but I'm going to throw a stone at Hellskillet. The reasoning for this is if I miss, which I have with an 18, I will get a fate point. So that's a nice cheap way to generate fate points. I probably should have done that last turn, but there we are. I managed to get it this turn, and so we're all set on that. Okay, that's the end of my turn. Once again, we remove the armor tokens, and the heads will act. So, Hellskillet rolls a 12 this time. This is Whip Up. Every henchman makes an action roll. Good timing on that. There are no henchmen out yet, so it's good that we got that one before they showed up. Then Stormbringer rolls a 10. Phantasm. This head cannot be attacked during the next round. So once again, I cannot attack Stormbringer. Then we have the Earthbound, and he rolls a 15. This time he's going to Stomp. Every hero who fails a Perception roll loses 2 and must discard a random endurance card. So I must make a Perception roll. Now Perception is one of the ones I have increased, so it's an 11, and a 9 will do it. Cool. Then, at the end of the opponent turn, We remove a time token, and there are now 6. So we will draw a number of henchmen with a threat value of number of heroes times 3 or more. So let's see this. And there's a dragon whelp, and it has a threat of 3, and so that is all we will draw. So we'll put 6 life on the dragon whelp, and it will act next turn. Okay. Overall, I definitely feel pretty good about this. We would like to get things going and start hitting a little bit. Alright, so let's draw 2 cards. So I have Well-Aimed Strike. Play this card after a hero's damage roll for additional attack for a melee attack to add 4 to the damage. I definitely want to be able to use that. And I got the Strong Healing Potion, which I know I will want. I'm not going to play that one as Endurance. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to not try and use the Suddenly Gone and the Well-Aimed Strike on the same thing. Instead, so I can't attack Stormbringer this turn. I can attack the Dragon Whelp. The Dragon Whelp also has 2 protection. But I think... Whew. Alright. I am not going to play any of my cards as Endurance. Instead, I'm going to play the Tuzak Knife, and then I'm going to use Nicole's special ability so that I can also do other things this turn. The Earthbound is indestructible. Which means there's only one more ore card in there, and there's 2 of each of the others. So let's start by spending 1 on Provocate. So now I have protection and damage reduction. I also have the dodge, and finally I have the Tuzak Knife. So let's go ahead and use the Tuzak Knife. Now, do I want to look for a weak spot? I think I don't at this time, because I do have the Suddenly Gone, and I think that that makes more sense right now. So I'm going to go ahead and attempt the roll. My total melee attack ability is 16 with the leather bracers. So I will attempt the roll. I'm attacking Hell Skillet at the moment. So that's my goal. That's on the edge. That's a 17. I'm going to go ahead and spend the fate point. I would very much like to hit this. That's an 11. Okay, so now I will hit. And I will do d6 plus 6 damage. It's going to be 7 damage. 3 would get through. I could make 6 of it get through, and I think that that is what I want to do. So I'm going to go ahead and play the Suddenly Gone for 1, and that will reduce his protection by 3, so I will hit him for 7, minus 1 protection, so he will take 6. And I feel pretty good about that. I feel like I should be able to knock him out next turn, and hopefully Stormbringer won't keep rolling that Phantasm, because that's going to make it very hard to take down the whole dragon. Alright, so that is my turn. Now I might as well throw a stone and try and do a point at, at the dragon whelp. So let's try and do a point of damage. That's a 13. My ranged ability is only 11, so that will miss, but that will mean that I will get that fate point back. So that's helpful, at least. Okay. Then we get to the dragon. So going down the line, Hell Skillet rolls an 18. Protect. During the next round, every head gains +2. Oof. It's just going to be very hard to take down. We have an indestructible head, we have a head that often can't be attacked, and we have this armor that keeps coming back, which is very harsh. Alright, Stormbringer. 12. Lightning fast. Henchmen cannot be attacked during the next round. Okay, so no attacking the Dragon Whelp. Which means I'm going to really have to try to take down one of the dragon heads. Okay, alright. Then Earthbound. 8. This is attack. Every hero suffers 1d6 plus 1. Alright, so let's see what the damage is. It is 4. Let us see if I dodge. I do not. I will go ahead and Vigilance to see if I can dodge again. A 9 will still not be a dodge. So I'm taking 4, I will reduce it, and then I will protect 1. So I will take 2, down to 33. Okay. Alright. So it's almost in the range where I'll want to use my healing potion, but not quite. The Dragon Whelp rolls a 20. That's great. Unfortunately, there's it only has the one action, and there's nothing after it, so losing an action is not a big deal for it. We will go ahead and remove a time token. And hope that we can hit really hard this turn. That's the hope. So, alright, ready all of my cards. Draw 2 more. Ooh. Okay, so I have Self-Control and Fast Friend. So obviously we want to go ahead and use Rusty immediately. I'm not playing any of these as Endurance. I'm going to want all the cards. So I will play Rusty, and I will look at the top 3 cards. Oh, well that's a... Ooh. Hardwood Harness or the Light Crossbow. I think what I need is actually the Light Crossbow right now, because I need to be hitting with 2 big hits instead of just 1. And then I shuffle all 3 of these back into the deck. There we are. Alright. So I was going to play Self-Control to make it more likely that I would hit with my 2-zack knife, but I think having 2 attacks is actually better. So I'm going to go ahead and spend... No. This turn I want to make sure, because they have so much armor, what I really want to do is make sure that I hit hard enough to be able to use the well-aimed strike. So yes, I am going to spend 2 on Self-Control. So I am now up to 18 melee with everything. And then I'm going to spend 1 to attack with the 2-zack knife. And I'm attacking... I want to attack Hellskillet. He's got 6 protection right now, but I think I should be able to get through it enough. Okay, that's definitely a hit. My damage... If I roll high enough, I won't have to spend the well-aimed strike. That would be great. My damage is 9. Minus 6. Yes, that will be enough. So I'm going to go ahead and not spend the well-aimed strike this turn. Instead, he will fall asleep. So Hellskillet is going to fall asleep. I have 2 of each kind of token. I'm setting them randomized on his card. Okay, and I still have 3 endurance left, and I think that that means I'm going to go ahead and get my crossbow out. That sounds wonderful. So I'll have my crossbow out. I don't have any endurance left to use it. I could spend a fate point on an endurance to use it, but I don't think it's worth it right now. It's not super likely to hit, and I could only attack the Earthbound. So I think we'll focus on trying to hit the other 2 heads as hard as possible next turn. Okay, so it is the dragon's turn. On Hellskillet's turn, we will flip a token. Let's see what we are. It's an eye. Okay, so as soon as I get the second eye, you will wake back up. Let's hope that we can move quickly then. Alright, Stormbringer. Rolls a critical. So every hero suffers 1d6 plus 4 as an attack. So, and Stormbringer will get another action, which is not good. It's very unfortunate. So let's deal with the 1d6 plus 4 first of all. That is a 6, so that's 10 damage. Here's hoping I can dodge. I do! Awesome. And I dodged on the first try, so I didn't have to use my vigilance. So that will bring the damage down to 5. I will reduce it by 1, and I will use my protection, so it will bring it down to 3. So I'm now down to 30 health. But I had to burn all of my defenses on that, except for vigilance. Alright, and then he gets another action. It's a 4. Guess what? He's going to do that again. That's very bad. And he's going to roll 10 damage again. Whew. Okay. Let's see if I can roll my dodge again. I do! So this time I have nothing else to reduce, so that's going to knock me down to 25. Okay. So I'm at 25 health. And now it's the Earthbound's turn. 3. Attack. Every hero suffers 1d6 plus 1. It's not as big a hit, but I don't like any of them. Alright, so that's 5 damage. Let's see if I can dodge. I do still have the vigilance, and I do still dodge. So at least my dodges are good. But I'll take 3 damage, so I'll knock down to a 32. And finally the Dragon Whelp. As a 9, and will attack me for 1d6 plus 2. So its damage is 7. I'll attempt to dodge. I do not. This time I will use the vigilance. And I still don't dodge, so I will take 7 damage. So that will bring me down to 15 health, which is not great. Okay, and then we remove a time token, and we draw a leader action. Stroke of Wing, air. So it is not or, it's air, so it does go off. Suddenly, the dragon reared and stroked its wings through the air as if to flee from the battlefield, but far from it. In fact, this was just another of his tricks to whirl our group around. Every hero must make a body control roll. If it fails, he must discard 1 random endurance card. It's not too bad. Body control is good for me, and discarding endurance at this point is not awful, since I do already have my expensive card out. I will fail, and I'll just go ahead and do it. It's fine. I don't mind losing 1 endurance at this point. Certainly not worth spending a fate point on. Alright. So there we are. That's the dragon's turn. But now, Stormbringer is attackable. Earthbound is attackable. though still indestructible, but importantly, neither of them have their armor. So let's see if we can do some damage. But I also do want to make sure to save some endurance for my healing. Alright, so I have Bewitch, which I can use after a henchman rolls to ignore a 1 to 5. I have Balsam, which is a second healing, and I still have the Well-Aimed Strike to add damage, which I would like to use on Earthbound. So I think what I'm going to do is the Bewitch is not as important to me. I want to make sure that I have plenty of endurance so that I can do all the things I need to do. So I'm going to spend 2 on the Strong Healing Potion, because I don't want to go a full round with only 15 health. So that will bring me up to 23. Then I'm going to spend 1 to attack with the light crossbow, and that's going to go on Stormbringer. So let's see if I can hit Stormbringer. It is a 4. I do hit. That's great. So my damage is 1d6 plus 6. It is 6. This is very good. I'm feeling very happy about that. So Stormbringer is also out. So now I take the other 4 tokens. So there are only 8 of these tokens, and the reason for that is obviously you only need to deal with 2 heads at a time, because if you take out the 3rd while the other 2 still have tokens on them, you win. And let's see if I can do that. That would be very good. All right. So then I'm going to go ahead and spend another 1 to attack with... trying to decide if I want to look for a weak spot, but I don't think I do. I got the Well-Aimed Strike, and that's more efficient. It's 2 endurance for 4, so I'd rather do that while I have it. So I'm attacking with the Tuzak Knife, and I need an 18, so that should be very doable. Alright, let's see if I miss. I do not. Okay, so I hit for d6 plus 6. Please let it be high. Okay, so that's 9. And now I will spend 2 more on Well-Aimed Strike to make it 13. So that adds 4. And then we have 13 damage, minus 3 protection. That will drop him to 0 or below. And then the indestructible goes off. So I will discard this card and set his life points to hero times d6. So let's see what his new life points are. 2 is great. Unfortunately, I do not have any more attacks. So let's see if Hellskillet is going to come back, because that's going to determine how easy or difficult the remainder of this fight is. All right. So it is the beginning of the turn. I have a 2/3 chance of getting another round. Let's find out. Ah! He remains asleep. So, next round it'll be a 50-50 chance. Alright. Stormbringer begins to wake up. So it's definitely down to the wire here. This is the round I would very much like to finish this off. Alright. Earthbound takes an action. 19! does nothing but churn up the earth. That's wonderful. And then a 4. I used up my wood. Turns out, would have been useful. A random hero loses 1d6. That's one of the reasons that I was willing to allow this to happen, is because the Dragon Whelp's best ability isn't all that bad. So I lose 2 life. Because it is a life loss, I can't do anything about it. It is just an automatic loss of 2 life. So it's not an attack, which does make it a little more effective, but it's not a ton of life points to lose, so I'm not as worried about it. And then we remove a time token. Time scale 3 has nothing happening. This is it. This is going to happen. I can feel it. All right, so we're going to go ahead and ready everything. I have 1 fate point. I'm at 21 health. I draw 2 cards. Hey, look, it's the hardwood harness. I don't think I'm going to need that. Let's try not to need that. All right. So we'll start by seeing if we can take him out with the crossbow. Maybe we'll get lucky, and if we don't, we'll get a second fate point to really make sure when we get to the 2-zack knife. Alright, that is a miss. I'm not going to spend a fate point on crossbow. I will simply gain a second fate point, and then hopefully this will do it. So we take a swing with the 2-zack knife. The final blow coming down on the Earthbound. That is a 9. It will certainly hit. The damage will be 11. I do not need anything else. 11 will take him down. And that will do it. So, I have succeeded. Let me get the victory text. After a victory, with the Tear of Dragon recovered. So I did that. The Fellowship of Dragon Hunters is victorious. The Dragon Delapere is defeated by your swords and spells, well, mostly swords, and will not be able to use the Tear of the Dragon to bring disaster to the world. Instead, you are able to recover the meteorite and transport it back to civilization, where it can be used in the name of righteousness to repel the darkness in the world. Read the effects of your victory in the section End of an Adventure in the Adventure Rules. Each hero receives 1 experience point, or 2 points if you successfully excavated the Tear of the Dragon. If the Giant Wyvern was defeated in difficult or legendary difficulty, each hero receives a hero title card. So I did not defeat it in the in the difficult or legendary difficulties. So I do not get the extras. But I did get 2 experience points, which is really great. And so what I'm going to do is, first of all, I must... I had gotten the Salisandra, and I must remove that from my deck, as it's only there for this adventure. And then... let's take a look at the reward card that I might be able to add. I will say, as I'm shuffling the reward cards, I did get pretty lucky. As you saw, this set of dragon heads tends to be more protective of itself. And although I got low, I did have plenty of healing. And that helped a lot. And I didn't get attacked as often as I would like. They were mostly defensive. Some of the other dragon heads are a lot more offensive, and I do not tend to survive long unless you get extremely lucky against them. So this was a successful dragon hunt at the easy difficulty, of course. And with a nice spread of heads, so not too bad. All right, so the Dexterity tonic. Play after your hero fails at a ranged attack. The attack counts as successful. So I could keep that and have a guaranteed success on a ranged attack once, and still have a skill point, or I could take 2 skill points. So I think this is the point where I want to accentuate. I'm going to go ahead and let the Dexterity tonic go. I don't think it's as critical a reward. If I could get a really nice weapon or something like that, I think I might go with it, or some really good armor to flesh out the other armor that I have. Then I might consider it, but right now I'm not feeling too bad about my ranged attacks, and they're not, as you saw, the focus necessarily of my deck. The melee attack, if it were the strength tonic, I might consider it, because that tends to be where more of my attacks are. So instead I'm going to take 2 skill points, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to accentuate my strengths. So I'm actually going to raise both body control and willpower. I'd like to accentuate my strengths because next time we are going to head into a longer adventure, and this is actually one of the longest adventures. You're going to see the beginning of Inn of the Black Boar. I'm going to do the full Inn of the Black Boar adventure with Nicole, and she comes from that expansion, so she was all set up for it. And the Inn of the Black Boar is an exceptionally long adventure, even as a solo, and so I'll split that into several parts, most likely. I'm not sure exactly how many, but we'll start next week and see how far we go. All right, until next time, have a great day.